Okay, good morning. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try to read a few minutes to you out of the book of Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. This is for third grade, and I started reading this and we got cut off. I think we're on chapter 4. And so I'm going to go ahead and try this again and see if I can get a few minutes of reading with you. It's always good to hear someone else read, especially a book that is in a reading level that's higher than yours. And this is a really good book for a 10-year-old boy. The character in this book is now 12 years old, I believe, at this part of the story. So go ahead and listen, sit back and listen, close your eyes. Try to picture yourself as this little boy and doing the things that he's doing. Day after day, I flew to the store. Grandpa would shake his head. Then on Monday, I entered the store. I sensed a change in him. He was in high spirits, talking and laughing with half a dozen farmers. Every time I caught his eye, he would smile and wink at me. I thought the farmers would never leave, but really, the store was empty. Grandpa told me the letters had come. The kennels were still there, and they had dogs for sale. He said he had made the mail buggy wait while he made out the order. And another thing, the dog market had gone downhill. The price of dogs had dropped $5. He handed me a $10 bill. Now, there's still one stump in the way, he said. The mail buggy can't carry things like dogs. So, they'll come as far as the depot at Tahquah, but you'll get the notice here because I ordered them in your name. I thanked my grandfather with all my heart, and I asked him how long I'd have to wait for the notice. He said, I don't know, but it should take more than a couple weeks. Picture in your brain you being just like this boy and getting this good news, how good you would feel. I asked how I was going to get my dogs out from Tahquah. Well, there's always someone going in, he said, and you could ride in with them. That evening, the silence of our supper was interrupted when I asked my father this question. Papa, how far is it to Kentucky? I may as well have exploded a bomb. For an instant, there was a complete silence, and then my oldest sister giggled. The two little ones stared at me. With a half-hearted laugh, my father said, Well, now, I don't know, but it's pretty good ways. What do you want to know for? Thinking about a trip to Kentucky? No, I said, I just wondered. My youngest sister giggled and asked, Can I go with you? I glared at her. Mama broke into the conversation. I declare, what kind of question is that? How far is it to Kentucky? I don't know what you know. I don't know what's gotten into that mind of yours lately. You go around like you were lost, and you're losing weight. You're as skinny as a rail, and look at that hair. Just last Sunday, they had a haircut thing over at Tom Rowland's place, but you couldn't go. You had to go prowling around the river and the woods. I told Mama that I'd get a haircut next time they had a cuttin', and I just heard some fellas talking about Kentucky up at the store and wondered how far away it was. Much to my relief, the conversation was ended. The days dragged by. A week passed, and still no word about my dogs. Terrible thoughts ran through my mind. Maybe my dogs were lost. The train had a wreck. Somebody stole my money, or perhaps the mailman lost my order. Then, at the end of the second week, the notice came. My grandfather told me that he had talked to Jim Hodges that day, and he was going into town in about a week, and I could ride in with him to pick up my dogs. Again, I thanked my grandfather. I started for home. Walking along in a deep thought, I decided it was time to tell my father the whole story. I truly intended to tell him that evening. I tried several times, but somehow I couldn't. I wasn't scared of him, for he never whipped me. He was always kind and gentle, but for some reason, I don't know why, I just couldn't tell him. That night, snuggled deep in the soft folds of a feather bed, I lay thinking. I had waited so long for my dogs, and I so desperately wanted to see them and hold them. I didn't want to wait a whole week. In a flash, I made up my mind, very quietly. I got up and I put on my clothes. I sneaked into the kitchen, and I got one of Mama's precious flour sacks. In it, I put 6 eggs, some leftover cornbread, a little salt, and a few matches. Next, I went to the smokehouse, and I cut off a piece of salt pork. I stopped at the barn, and I picked up a gunny sack. I put flour in the sack, and inside the gunny sack, this I rolled up and crammed lengthwise in the bib of my overalls. I was on my way. I was going for my dogs. Okay, we're going to stop here, and I want you to think about this. Do you think he's making a very wise choice? I don't know. We'll get back to this later. And remember, this is Where the Red Fern Grows by Wilson Rawls. And we only have permission to read this on our recordings during this time where we're home. So make sure that you listen to the recordings. So because once school starts back up in the fall, I'll have to erase these. All right. I hope that you are thinking about what it would be like to be this little boy and be so excited about his dogs. All right. Until then, I'll talk to you later.